Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whenever you're watching this broadcast. It's yours truly, Michael Norman. How many of you have ever really had this serious discussion with yourself concerning your financial situation? Have you ever heard yourself say, if I can just make a little more money? Or perhaps you're on the other side of saying, every time I spend a nickel, I got to spend a dime. You could finish that statement, right? Well, today I want to talk about some of the things that may be prohibiting you from getting the money that you desire. Now, of course, it'd be beyond me to criticize anyone, but we've heard it said that money cometh. But in truth, money does not come. Money is it's waiting. It's waiting. It's waiting for you to recognize who she is. And truth of the matter is, I kind of agree. I've heard it said that money is a female. And when you disrespect her, then you get correlating response. In many cases, money is a mirror. That's really the truth. Because when you think about it, a lot of people think that when you get money, people change. Not really. They don't really change. Money is a mirror. And the more you have of it, the more it exposes of you. The more money you get, the more it exposes you for who you really are. So many are, con artists and, scam artists, not because they're poor, but they're too poor to scam. They don't have any resources to make the scam work. They don't have the resources to buy what they really would buy if they had the money. So that when they come into the money, then they can finance all of the deviant behaviors and all of the uh, lascivious lifestyles that they imagine. Now they've got the money to do it. So it's not that money changes you. It actually kind of reflects you. It's a mirror of who you really are. So the real caveat here is to make sure that you get yourself into a position morally where that when these monies start flowing into your life, when you start gaining income and wealth and prestige and things of that nature, it's not something that's going to change you as opposed to something that's going to expose you to greater light. So if you're kind and considerate and passionate when you were broke, when you get money, it's going to all it's going to do is heighten that level. It's going to expand the awareness that you are kind, compassionate, and caring. And ergo, you're going to be the kind of person that take your wealth and riches to help and improve humanity in some sort of way by giving into charities, to scholarship programs and housing projects and things of that nature. Because that's what you were before you had money. And now that you have it, it only magnifies who you really are. And so that's what I want to deal with today is the reason some people do not come into their monetary inheritance is because of several reasons. There's a lot of reasons, but I'm going to give you a few today that might be the inhibitor. It's not necessarily what you become when you get money as much as what you believe about money. What you believe about money has a great deal to do with how money will respond to you. And like I said earlier, money is a reflector. It's a mirror. It only reflects back to you what you project onto it. So if you think money is evil, as most, believers do, they think that money is the root of all evil. No, it's the love of money. And that kind of love that I'm talking about, it's not the kind of love that's lascivious or inordinate or blasphemous. I'm talking about a love that you appreciate what money can do for you. I heard it said years ago that money is a wonderful servant, but a horrible master. Money is a wonderful servant. She'll go where you tell her to go, do what you tell her to do, don't talk back, doesn't rebuke or any of that kind of thing. It will do exactly. You tell it to pay a bill, send that money. I'm sending you to pay this light bill. And guess what? that light bill gets paid. And so you have lights for another 30 days. Pay my car note, pay my electric bill, pay this, pay that. Anything you send money to do, given that it's the proper amount, it's going to take care of it and it will cure the issue. Even the Bible itself says, money answereth all things. Of course, it's all things that pertains to money. There are some things in life, of course, money cannot buy. So we realize that. But what I want to talk about is several fears about money that will impact your ability to gain more of it. Because again, money is spiritual. Money is in a metaphysical sense, it is spiritual. It is an individual. And when you respect it, it respects you. See, if you have this disdain or disregard for money, when you get it, you'll disrespect it. And that's what happens a lot of times with pro athletes and people who've come in, who wins the lottery. They weren't necessarily prepared to handle the amount of wealth that they came into. And as a consequence, a few years later, after becoming a multi-millionaire, just a few short years later, they're broke. How does that happen? There's a cause for that. It's not necessarily a curse. And if it is a curse, it's a curse of ignorance where it concerns money. So if you take care of her, you treat her kindly, you respect her and show her regard and preference. I'm not saying serve her, but you do all of the things and ingratiate. You have a bad attitude towards her, it's going to have a bad attitude towards you. So I'm going to give you about 3 points today, 3 fears that inhibits you from inheriting your wealth and riches. 3 fears that will stop you from getting your money, because money is waiting. She's waiting for you to possess the necessary attributes and character traits that attracts money. Like I said, just like any woman, she likes someone who's well-dressed, well-rehearsed, well-spoken, sound moral values, great character traits. And just like any other woman, money is the same. They find that attractive. And then it shows up. So here we go. 3 things. Number 1, fear of losing it. So I heard it said by a very popular figure, I won't mention her name, but she's a multi-billionaire. And as such, one of the greatest fears that she has is one day losing it all. Losing it all. And the reason for that is because she came from poverty. Now, that's something to be celebrated. To come from poverty to become a multi-billionaire is something to be celebrated. That's something to be admired and celebrated. However, if you're not careful, as you are climbing the corporate ladder, as it were, or the financial ladder, you're getting more and more money, you're getting more exposure. If you're not careful, you will carry those fears with you, because you remember how it was when you were poor, barely making it, having to eat peanut butter sandwiches for breakfast, for dinner, for lunch, that sort of thing. When you were young, you had to wear hand-me-downs and things of that nature. Hey, Kim, bless you. When you were young, you couldn't see yourself prospering, but somehow you had a dream. You're like Martin Luther King. You had a dream, and that dream of wealth and riches became a reality. The only challenge is that you, in the back of your mind and your subconscious mind, you're still afraid. You're still running away from something. Rather than running to something, you're running away from something. So if you're not careful, you will realize that I'm running away from money as opposed to running to the opportunity to get it. So that when you get it, the very fact that you're in constant fear is what's going to bring torment. And even if you get the money, even if you get the abundance, the wealth, the increase, you will not be able to enjoy it. Why? Because you're always looking behind your back. You're always thinking, who's trying to take my money? Am I losing it today? Am I going to lose my money? I'm afraid to invest in this. I'm afraid to do that. And so, again, that's number one. One of the number one fears, or a number one reasons why many do not inherit their wealth and riches, because they are afraid of losing it. The fear of failure, often after success, can paralyze people. They'd rather not have wealth than face the shame or the pain of losing it. Now, that's real, right? I would rather have never had it than to have had it and lost it. That's a real issue. So you're going to have to settle the whole reality thing that if I get it, I'm going to handle it properly. I'm not afraid that if I get it, I'm going to lose it. The issue is when I get it, I'm going to possess. That's why you have to attend classes, courses. You're going to have to adjust the surroundings. You're going to have to adjust who you allow to speak into your life, to coach you, to influence your life. You're going to have to watch everything about your life, because it's all, excuse me, it's all going to play a vital part in the level of success that you're going to enjoy. So number one, the number one thing that keeps people from gaining wealth is fear of losing. Number two, the fear of change. So I said this before, just now, right? Will wealth change who I am, or how others see me? That's one of my writings here. People fear money. They fear that money might corrupt them, isolate them, or attract fake friends and greedy relatives. Check, check, and check. There are going to be, once you come into a certain amount of wealth, now you can get some money, enough to pay your bills and just, get by. But if they find out you've got millions, or even hundreds of thousands, you're going to attract people to your life. That's just the reality. And the number one people you're going to attract is generally going to be family members, because there's a certain mental attitude of a certain entitlement mental attitude that kind of says, hey, I'm your relative, and while I didn't do anything to get that money, you still should give me some money, because after all, I'm your relative, I'm your blood, you owe it to me. How is that? How does that work? That simply because you're kin to me doesn't necessarily mean you're kin to me. Doesn't mean you're in it for me. Because oftentimes what will happen, people will show up in your life that you've never even met, claiming to be relatives. And listen, I'm going through a rough patch right now. I lost my job, and I lost my income, and then ultimately I lost my house, and things are just, if you could just spot me, just give me a little something, to help me get on my feet, that sort of thing. Well, no, I'm not going to spot you something that help you get on your feet, because before I do that, I want to know why you lost all of those things. What caused you to lose your job? Is it because you wouldn't go to work, or you didn't do the work? Did you have a bad attitude while you were there in that environment? Because those are the things you need to correct. If that's true, if it's so, then you need to correct those issues first before you go on this begging tour where you're asking for money. Get that corrected first, because even if you come into money, you don't respect your coworkers, you don't respect yourself, you will not respect money, and as such, you'll soon part. As they say, a fool and his money will soon part. And it's so true. It's still true today that if you don't understand how to not only get it, but how to maintain it. And one of the ways that you maintain your wealth is by watching those who you allow to come into your life after, AM, not after morning, but after money, AM. Watch the ones that come in your life AM, after money. After you get the money, Then all of a sudden, people will show up. And of course, there's going to be scam artists, even at the high level, at high dollar levels, because we've had opportunities where money came into our possession, and the money managers, they make money based on how much management they do with your money. And sometimes they're in it for what they can get their commission, trying to get you to invest in this, trying to get you to do that, so that they can earn a commission off of your money. So it's the same entitlement mentality. You got to watch those who think that you owe them something for doing nothing. You got to watch that. So the second fear is, will wealth change who I am or how others see me? People fear money. People fear money might corrupt them, which again, money doesn't corrupt. It only exposes. Okay, it magnifies who you are. All right, so you can get that fear out of you. They fear that money will isolate them, and that in many cases it will, because all of those friends and loved ones and relatives and homeboys and girls that you used to hang out with, now that you've come into wealth, it is almost going to necessitate you being willing to cut some people loose from your life. Because like I said before, people have a way of thinking that you owe them simply for being in your life. I've been your friend ever since high school. Why can't you give me, some of your money? Because you didn't do anything to earn it. Just because we went to high school together doesn't mean I owe you anything. So you're going to have to develop a certain, thick-skinnedness. You're going to have to develop a certain level of toughness to be able to handle people who think that you owe them something for simply just being in proximity to you. And that, ergo, you're going to find that you do have to practice a certain level of isolation. You're going to have to pull back away from a lot of people and be very selective about who you allow into your life. I'm telling you this. These are things that are going to help you. All right. Again, these are fears that people have concerning wealth. And fear is the number one torturer. It's the number one thing that will stop you from inheriting anything. The Bible talks about it being a tormentor. Fear is a tormentor. And many times the very thing that you're afraid of inevitably is the thing that will actually happen to you. So again, when you're walking in a level of fear, you're literally saying, over here, destruction, over here, poverty, over here, sadness. Here I am. You looking for me? This is the kind of attitude you take on, and ultimately, when you walk in fear, you're asking, you're literally inviting those things to come into your life, and that whether you know it or not, everything operates at certain levels of frequency. Money has a frequency level. Happiness has a frequency level. Sadness has a frequency level. And when you operate at the level of the certain frequency of wealth and prosperity, everyone that's not vibrating at that level, they're the ones that's going to have to fall off. Because you're not even on the same wavelength. You're not on the same frequency. You're not on the same faith level. It happens. And so you got to be willing. Some people will sabotage their own wealth for the sake of trying to appease those who are hangers on, who think you owe them something simply because they're in proximity to you. I remember, you remember MC Hammer. Now, I know he didn't mind me telling his story because he's told it himself. He comes from, a certain class of people. And when he became famous for his songs and his performances, he became a multimillionaire, became very successful. The challenge and the problem that he had was he tried to take his entire neighborhood with him. He tried to take his entire neighborhood with him to that place of wealth and wealth and abundance. He tried to take all of his homies from back in the day. I'm taking all of them. That's dead weight, because your homies, they weren't working then. And why do you think now that they are on your team or on your payroll that they're going to work now? So the long story short is, He's paying off their bills and buying them things and taking them on tours with him, only to realize one day that he is broke. Broke because he's trying to take everybody with him. See, not everybody that starts with you is going to end up with you. You got to be good with that. You got to recognize that just because we started doesn't mean that we're going to finish together. Now, that doesn't mean it has to be over something dramatic or traumatic, but it does mean there's a recognition. You remember when Abraham and Lot, they had to make a decision. Both of them were rich. They were increasing. They had abundance, but they had problems among their workers and those that work for them. And as such, Abraham and his nephew had to make a choice. It says, I'll go to the right if you go to the left. If you go to the left, I'll go to the right. If I go to the right, you go to the left. But we've got to part ways. And so sometimes you got to recognize, I'm Abraham, you might be Lot, and that means we have to go separate ways. No hate, no disdain. It is what it is. It's the reality that have to go another way. Let me give you one more and then I'm going to wrap it up. This is one big one. Fear of responsibility that says, I do not want the pressure that comes with managing money. I don't want to handle the pressure. Wealth brings taxes. And that's a real thing because so many people have lost in the money game because they did not recognize or respect taxes. So wealth brings taxes, decisions, people asking for help, and bigger life choices. That responsibility can feel overwhelming. I wrote this down here, and I wanted to share that with you because a lot of people don't want that responsibility. You've got to pay your taxes and understand, whenever you have more of anything, you have more of everything. When you get more money, inevitably you're going to be able to get a bigger house, which comes with bigger and higher water bill, a higher electric bill, higher taxes. So when you get more of anything, you're going to get more of everything. That's just the way that it goes. And some people are like, I don't want that responsibility. I don't want to pay taxes. I don't want to have to pay more for, I got my one bedroom efficiency and that's good enough for me. And it may be. No hate. I'm not trying to make you change your life. I'm just saying that if you want to succeed in life, you're going to have to lose this fear of all the things that come along with it. Fear of responsibility, fear of losing it, fear of what am I going to become when I become rich? Who am I going to be? Am I going to lose myself in trying to fit in with the crowd and, be a part of the bourgeoisie, that sort of thing? I mean, these are real concerns. That's why you have to deal with it right now on the come up, right here on the ground floor. Start dealing with all of the facts and the ideas and concept things that you have to contend with while you're trying to make it, while you're in the trenches, working it out, working your business, working your church, working your ministry, working your coffee shop, whatever it is you're working. You got to make sure that you possess the proper mindset as well. So as your business grows, you need to grow. Don't focus so much on growing your business or your ministry till you forget to grow yourself. The greatest investment that you can make is in you first, and then everything else second. Remember, if you've ever taken a flight to anywhere, no matter what plane, no matter what airlines you get on, they all have the same announcement, and that is, there may be times when we hit a pocket of air or something that requires the mask to drop down. When that mask drops down, put the mask on yourself first. and then your child. And I used to think that, man, that's real cold-hearted. Why would you encourage me to put the mask on myself first when I'm traveling with my child? Shouldn't I put it on the child first? Until I realized what they were saying. They were saying oftentimes when you ascend to a certain level in heights and altitude, the air is thin there. And that's why you have to use mask, because if you don't use the mask, you will become disoriented and you won't know you're up from down. So when that mask falls down, put it on yourself first so that you will have the clarity of thought and mind to know how to help your little ones. And the same is true where it concerns your finances. Invest in yourself first. Learn who you are. Learn to excise all of those other deviant behavior traits, whatever fears you may be possessing. Fear of what I came from, coming, one day being poor again, one day being broke. That's a serious thing. Learn to deal with that first, so that when all of this income and wealth begins to happen in your life and you become more than what you used to be, then it won't be an issue for you. In the Bible, it talks about how these momentary light afflictions are but for a moment, but they're working for a far weight of glory, which means that what you're going through is only preparing you for what you're going to. What you're going through is preparing you for what you're going to. But if I don't allow myself to be processed, what I'm going to get will process me. Okay, it literally will work against me. So I've got to process myself first so that I can handle the possessions that I'm going to get later. Because some people lose their mind when they get wealth. They don't lose it. It magnifies that certain arrogance, that certain pride that they've always had. But money, like I said, is a magnifier. Money will magnify who you are. It doesn't change who you are. It only exposes and magnifies who you are. So if you were mean-spirited and arrogant when you were broke, when you get your money, you're just going to be meaner. You're going to be more arrogant than you were before. Because money doesn't change people. Money only exposes people for who they really are. All right? So that being said, I hope I said something that would encourage you, to enlighten you to recognize that, yes, you're on your way to your wealthy place. Yes, there is God's desire that you prosper and be in good health. It's divine. It's the divine demand. It's God's desire. It's his divine desire for you to prosper and be in good health, to have more than enough so that you can be a blessing. Why? Because it is more blessed to give. It's far and exceeding more of a blessing to be the giver and not the receiver. It's far more of a blessing to be the lender and not the borrower. By the way, I don't lend money. It's one thing you're going to have to learn. If I can't give it away, I don't give it at all. When they say, can I borrow this till Friday? More than likely, I'm going to say, no, I can't. Sorry. I don't have it. Because I've discovered when you lend people money, boy, the spirit of amnesia kicks in. And by the time that day comes, like if they say, let me borrow this till Friday, and then when Friday shows up, all of a sudden they don't remember it. As a matter of fact, they don't even return your call. Hey, I'm leaving messages or text messages. When are we going to meet so you can, get that money back to me? And all of a sudden, they're gone. So I made up in my mind, it's like, forget that. I don't lend unless I can just give it away. And it's more blessed to give anyway. It's more blessed to give than it is to receive. All right. So that being said, I want you to do me one solid favor. If you're watching this on YouTube, make sure that you click the subscribe button. If you've not subscribed already, make sure you click the thumbs up button as well. And of course, the notification bell so that you'll know when we're back on with a new show. So again, I need your support by doing those three things. Click subscribe, click the like button, and make sure you click the notification bell so that you will be in the know. Now, if you missed my last 3-day, I call it the 3-day challenge. It was called the Digital CEO Challenge, the 3-day Digital CEO Challenge. If you missed it for the month of June, it's coming back in July. And some people were not positioned, and of course, they weren't able to make it because they were working on all kinds of issues. So we're going to do it again in July, and we're going to get a date for you by next week. We'll let you know. But if you want to get ahead of the game, you can always go to michaelnorman.net and register, and we'll get more information to you that way. Okay, that way we'll make you aware of what date it's going to be. It's going to be powerful. I've committed myself to helping our people discover how to start their own digital business, and to how to get your product to as many people as possible. Because remember this, I'll give you this piece of jewel. People don't care about your passion. You do, but they don't. Particularly if your passion does not answer a need. If your passion doesn't solve a problem that I have or that the public has, then your passion is a hobby. So you need to make that, I'm not saying get rid of it. I'm saying it's a hobby. It's not a money-making opportunity. Okay, it's not a money-making offer. The ones who are the most successful in business are the ones who are able to recognize, number one, where the problem is. Number two, what the answer is. Number three, find out the best way to reach those who have that problem. Present them with the answer, and you will become successful. It's just that simple. Now, it's a lot of work oftentimes because you got to put work into your lead magnet. You got to if you got an ebook, you got to write the ebook and all of the things that come with it on the front end. But I promise you, if you have the answers to life's problems, you can become very, very, very wealthy. All right. So that being said, I'll be back next week, same time. Of course, if you're watching this at another time that's not live, I'm live every Monday at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. But of course, you can watch it at any time you want. Please make sure that you click the share button. That's the other thing. Make sure that you share. Share with at least 5 of your friends. We're trying to build my YouTube channel. Okay. Facebook, I'm thankful and grateful for you guys, but you got to go to the YouTube page, subscribe, click the like button, click the share button, and share it with as many of your friends as possible. And then, of course, the notification bell. All right. That being said, I'm going to get on out of here. But remember, it is God's desire that you prosper and be in health so that you can have maximum life. All right. We'll see you next time. Blessing.